Welcome to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken. Shep will talk with some of the smartest thinkers in business to help make you more successful in your professional and personal life. This is Amazing Business Radio with Shep Hyken.
Hello, everybody. It's Shep Hyken. We are back with another episode of Amazing Business Radio. I have a great guest. She has been on the show twice before, so this is her third time. Her name is Blake Morgan, and she has a brand new book, The 8 Laws of Customer-Focused Leadership. And we're all about customer focus. We're all about customer service. We're all about customer experience. But before we get into the interview, a couple of quick announcements. If you've got an amazing story that you want to share, I want to hear it. Or if you have an amazing question that you'd like to ask, please reach out to me on any of the social media channels because I am everywhere. I will answer the question that you have either in that channel. I will answer it on this show. I will answer it in my newsletter or on my TV show, which is Be Amazing or Go Home. And episodes can be found on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Prime. And if you go to beamazing.tv, that's beamazing.tv, you can binge watch all of the episodes. So let's get into our interview with Blake Morgan. Blake, welcome back to the show.
Shep, it is always so good to see you, to talk with you. I feel like when we see each other, it's like an old friend, really.
Well, I would hope so. We've known each other for quite a few years and we have fun. We go and do these events all over the world together. So, and now you've written a third book. So titles of the first two books, refresh the audience's memory.
Oh gosh, let's go down memory lane. My first book, you can miss it because it was bright red. More is more. The idea that if you want to compete on customer experience, you have to work harder than others. You have to bring more energy, more excitement, more of that service-oriented approach, Shep, that you and I have been talking about for so long. The second book is called The Customer of the Future, which was more of a kind of futurist angle. And my new book is called The 8 Laws of Customer-Focused Leadership, Building a Business Around Today's Customer, the new rules for building a business around today's customer. So those are my 3 books. I think my new book is really focused on the leadership aspect, which is exciting.
I am excited. You know what happens on the inside of a company is felt on the outside. For somebody to say, and I just wrote an article about this, and I have a cartoon every week, and I said change takes choice. And what I mean by that is I heard somebody say, oh, and by the way, we need to really do a better job on our customer service. I'm out of time. We'll talk about that later. And the guy walks off. So my cartoon was based on that thought. Oh my God, this guy just took perhaps one of the most important strategies in all of business and he threw it away as like an afterthought. And so if leadership isn't going to get behind making the effort, and I'm not going to say it even has to be a change, but change is inevitable. The future customer or the future, what was the second title? It had to do with the future.
The Customer of the Future.
The Customer of the Future. That was written how many years ago? 2-3 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Not that long ago. Well, guess what? We're now the future that you were talking about because it's accelerating so fast. When you wrote that book, was there Chat GPT?
No, and
exactly.
It came out right before COVID.
Yeah. Well, okay. So it's actually a little more than 3 years ago.
Yeah.
But that's great because we're now in the future. How do you think let's just talk about that book for a moment. Are we the customers of the future? Did it come to fruition exactly how you saw it happening?
So the opening of that book started with a story about the blind cave fish.
Yes,
the blind
and how it evolved.
Fish.
I've seen you
Shep,
talk.
You just spilled the beans.
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I've seen you talk
about
about that in your speech. I love the story.
No, it's an old story I don't share anymore. But it was interesting because the blind cavefish had to literally become blind to survive. And then we went through COVID where we all had to do things. I was washing my strawberries with soap and I was pregnant until I ate soap. And then I thought, God, this isn't working. But anyway, I mean, every company had to, of course, go digital, meet their customers where they were. Now it's interesting because we're dealing with the aftermath of all the mess of COVID, of sprinting to meet customers where they were. It really wasn't sustainable. And now many companies find themselves feeling like they're on shaky ground still. So it is an interesting time. And even during that time, we didn't foresee ChatGPT and how that would really uproot contact centers, because now contact centers are having to train AI, and there's not a lot of discussion about change management, which I'm sure you're dealing with your clients too. Like, how do you deal with the talent management and the change management side of bringing AI into the contact center?
Well, I think I talk to people, are you going to be increasing jobs? Are you going to eliminate jobs? And the majority of people increase at this point.
Okay.
Chat GPT is forcing the contact centers to hire smarter, more capable people because the basics are now being answered by a machine, which allows the agents to spend more time on really, cool things for them to turn around and fix or deal with. And they find there's a little bit higher level of agent fulfillment by eliminating the simple, menial, like almost rote tasks. Like
Yeah.
I was just writing today that you need to train clients on how to use digital at the right time. But you can't just say, go do it. You got to teach them to do it. And sometimes you teach them by doing it with them the first time and they see how easy it is. And they'll never have to call you again to track a package or find out if a balance is, below a certain amount. They learn how to do it themselves. And I know those sound so trivial and so like maybe even 90s or maybe early 2000s. That shouldn't customers today know how to do that? But the answer is no, they don't. Not all of
Okay.
them do. There's a small percentage of customers. It's we do that customer service research every year. It's in the mid to high 20s that say it's probably mid 20s. If you don't give them digital options, they won't even consider doing business with you. However, 70% of customers still prefer to go to the phone first. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of a weird, it ties in, but it's like, okay, still 70% are going to the phone first. What can we do to get them to go digital first and then use the phone when they need us or have the digital transfer as it's needed? But anyway, I digress. I want to talk about the 8 leadership principles that you talk about in your 8 laws of customer focused leadership. And so and this book is quite different. It's a leadership book. It's not your typical. I almost think your books are like a glimpse at what's happening, or as with the last book, a glimpse into your take on what the future is. By the way, you're a real smart girl. You are amazing. You do your work. You are well read. We have conversations that go long on these topics. So, giving a glimpse into the whole future, which is what you did a few years ago. And now you're going, hey, leaders, if you're going to make this thing work, you got to get behind it. So let's talk about the 8 laws. Let's start with like just a brief overview. Let's do a couple of laws and we'll take a break, come back, do a couple more. And just we're going to tease this audience that they need to go out and buy it. The 8 laws of customer focused leadership, available at Amazon and wherever books are
Yes.
sold.
Yes, thank you for that advertisement, Shep. Yes, we love to talk. I love talking to you. I find you to be so pleasant and such a good conversationalist that it's really hard to work with you because we can't get the recording to start because we just want to chat.
Just
Anyway, let's
so
provide our
everybody should
audience some
know.
value.
The appointment started well over a half an hour
I
ago
know.
for this, and we're
It's so
just now getting
hard.
into it.
I just want to chat with you. Anyway, yes, I was giving a workshop in Dallas. I had the opportunity last year to meet with the leaders of AT&T, which is fun because I'm an AT&T customer, so I had so much great feedback for them. And one of the leaders asked me, he said, "Do you think you can build a customer-centric culture from the ground up, from your front line?" And I said, "Absolutely not." If you think about what makes a company customer-centric, it's resources. It's where does your employees' time go? How much time do they have with each customer? What is the digital customer experience? What is the employee experience? I mean, there's just so much that needs to be decided at the leadership level that you could never tell your frontline, okay, be happier, put a smile on your voice, Shep, when you're working those phones, and then change a whole company. So that's why I believe that customer experience is a leadership conversation. My book revolves around 8 pieces of a framework called CX Leader. It's an acronym. And the first is the customer experience mindset. Customer experience mindset is a way of life. It's for each one of us individually. I had someone talking to me recently about the mindset, and we were talking about how it's like even parenting. Like, what kind of parent are you? What kind of person are you? What are your ethics? Do you love your job? Do you bring that enthusiasm and excitement every day? So customer experience mindset is not just like a business strategy. It's really a way of life. It's all about being service oriented, Shep.
Yep.
And then we look at profits. So, can you hold two opposing ideas in your mind at one time? Which to me is the place that most executives misstep, that they think you can only be short term or long term. You can't do both. And then I started studying companies like Honeywell, David Cody, who has a book called Winning Now, Winning Later. He's a CEO who took Honeywell from a 20 billion market cap to 120 billion. You would love this guy. He's got a real Boston accent, very much a realist. Said he just started calling customers himself because he found that Honeywell is a multinational conglomerate selling all kinds of products. His employees were basically lying to him about the customer-centric health of the business. They felt if something wasn't their fault, they didn't need to report it. And so the CEO said, okay, I don't care. I'm the CEO. I'm going to start calling customers directly. I'm going to fly to 180 countries while I'm here to meet with customers, shake hands. And so his book, Winning Now, Winning Later, this is this idea of in customer experience that you have to think about today and also plant seeds for tomorrow. Two
Yeah.
opposing ideas in your mind at one time. And I'll just talk about one more and then
Well,
we'll
hold
take
on
a
one
break.
second. We're going to take a break and come back, but I want to go
Yes.
back to number one, which you said customer experience is not really a strategy. What I have said for years is customer service and customer experience, eventually, however, whatever you want to call it, is a philosophy. And it's
Mm-hmm.
embraced by everyone in a company, from the leaders, CEO, owner, chairman, whatever, all the way to the most recently hired. That's the key. It is time for a short break. And when we come back, I don't want you to do just one more. I want you to do two or three. Just tease us.
Okay.
You've given ideas. And by the way, I love look at the short term and the long term. And by the way, everybody thinks long term, what can we do? But if you don't take a look at what's going on right now, you're not going to get to the short term. You know, you want to get to the end of the race. If you're in a race car, but you got to take a turn to get there, right? So you got to see the turn coming up, because if all you do is go straight, we know what happens. Boom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. All right,
Well
let's take a
said.
quick break. We are coming right back. We are talking with Blake Morgan, the author of The 8 Laws of Customer Focused Leadership. As I mentioned, available to Amazon and every other place books are sold. Don't go away. We'll be right back with more of Blake. One of my favorite sayings is that customer service isn't a department, it's a philosophy. And it's a philosophy that must be embraced by everyone in the organization all the time, and that's 24/7. So if customer service is important to you, and I know it is, then you will love our virtual training, the ultimate on-demand customer service and experience training program that you can access anytime, anywhere. Now, the course content applies to everyone, regardless of position and responsibility, from senior executives to the most recently hired and everyone in between. You'll discover tips, ideas, and strategies that won't cost your company a fortune, but will produce what I call moments of magic, those positive experiences, and it will happen at every level of your organization. So go to Customer Service VT. That's V as in virtual, T as in training. That's customerservicevt.com. It's time to get customer focused.
You're listening to Amazing Business Radio with best-selling author and customer service and business expert, Shep Hyken.
We are back on Amazing Business Radio talking with Blake Morgan. Blake, you gave us 1 and 2. The first one about how it's a mindset. The second one is to look at the long term at the same time looking at the short term. Give us another couple of the principles of these leadership laws.
I think that one of the most overlooked pieces of a customer strategy is the employee strategy. It seems obvious, but if your employees are not happy, how are they going to bring that energy to the customers? So I think that don't forget that employees are customers too is so critical. I recently was on an airplane to Switzerland, and I flew Swiss Air, and I couldn't believe the service on this flight.
Good.
And It was absolutely incredible. Like they don't make flight attendants like this anymore. Like when you arrive, they just want you to be so comfortable. And if you don't take the champagne and you don't wear the organic pajamas, they're upset that they give you this. I got upgraded. I would never pay for this upgrade. I got upgraded. I don't know why, for free. And I couldn't believe the level of service, the smile and the wanting to be there, that this flight attendant clearly wanted to be doing this job. And she really was so grateful that she got to serve me, to be honest. And then at the end of the flight, the manager comes over and says, "Is everything okay?" I know these employees are treated well because there's no way you could sustain that kind of energy on a 12-hour flight without being comfortable and having what you need to do your job. Employees are customers too. And if you don't believe me, just go over to the Great Place to Work list and you'll see some of the most customer-centric companies are happy to hang their hat there.
Yeah, and there's no doubt if you go to glassdoor.com, the best rated companies to work for are often the highest rated in the customer service experience list that are
Yes.
out there. And to your point, I say the CX starts with an EX, the employee
Yes.
experience. And you can't take employees in the back, beat them up, tell them they're not doing well, and then say, now go out
Yes.
there and be nice. It's
Right.
incongruent behavior.
Right. I mean, obviously, in your own life, everybody listening, if you feel good, you have the energy to serve others, you're going to have more energy. You're going to
Yep.
do a better job. You're going to have, whistle while you work mentality. You're going to have a smile in your voice. You're
Whistle
going to
while
come up
you
with
work.
new,
There
yeah.
is not one person under 40 that knows what that means.
I'm an old soul and I just turned
And you are under
40.
40.
I just turned 40 like a week ago. So
Oh,
you're
okay. Well,
welcome.
happy birthday.
Thank you. But I was using that long ago. But it's this idea that like work is the thing that you do most of your life. If you enjoy it, what a gift. And wouldn't you want your employees to feel good at work? And I think that culture, no one wants to work at a fear-based culture where people are just in a bad mood all the time. When people feel comfortable, I mean, that is a very difficult balance to create. But for the companies that have that type of culture, they're unstoppable. I mean, look at Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's is just doing very counterintuitive things. The one thing they've always done well is they treat their employees really, really well. And they've managed to become this multi-billion dollar business with no digital customer experience, no loyalty program. They do things so differently than other grocers, but they're still gaining so much market share because of their basic employee experience.
Yeah. So we get the basic employee experience, which is a really good one there. But what do you think the most counterintuitive thing that Trader Joe's does in your mind? I
I
know
mean,
no loyalty program, but
you
even
can't
my
even order groceries in this day and age from Trader Joe's. I mean, that's insane. Did you know that?
I did not know that. We go to Trader
No.
Joe's all the time. We love
Yeah, you
Trader
go there because they want to create an experience. Like there's no freezer doors on the freezers because they want people to stick their hands in the freezer and explore and discover. I would say that's the most counterintuitive thing is like no technology, barely have a website, no digital, no loyalty program. But I could talk about Trader Joe's all day because I've just put them in my book as well. I even read Joe Colombi. He has the hardest Italian last name. I just read his memoir, his book from like the 50s about how he started Trader Joe's. But he used to say, "Why do you think no one has disrupted us? It's because we pay our employees a living wage." It's very
Yep.
basic. But the culture is just so unique at Trader Joe's. I think Trader Joe's is like an amazing customer experience case study. If you just go to that little store, and the store is little.
Yeah. I had an employee that came to me from Trader Joe's, and since got out of college, that's where she worked. And I wanted to hire her because it's like hiring somebody who works the front line at the Ritz-Carlton or the Four Seasons. It's just
Yes.
a little bit a different type of atmosphere, but they have that hospitality mentality that they have a great work ethic. And by the way, that's another piece of the whole customer culture thing is you hire the right people to begin with. And Trader
Yes.
Joe's doesn't just hire anybody that wants to work at a grocery store. They've got to be the right DNA to work at that grocery store.
Yeah, I actually got some really good advice from Alan Dibb, who writes marketing books. And he said it really hit me because in my own business, I had an employee that really wasn't an A player. And she just didn't really, she was not high performing. And it's hard when you have your own business. If you work your butt off and you hire people that just don't want to put in the work, it's hard. And he said, you know what, Blake, the best thing I ever did was I don't put up with anything but an A player. And it sounds obnoxious, but I believe this is so true that why settle if your employees don't appreciate the work and aren't excited to learn and to grow? They can bring down the culture of the whole group, of the whole team. And so hiring A players that are excited about the opportunity, I think is really, really key. Or for Trader Joe's, hiring people that genuinely like people is another form of that.
Yep. Barbara Streisand sang the song "People Who Need People." I think
Yes.
it's people who like people are the luckiest people who are being
Yes.
liked. Anyway, I should write that.
Yes.
Should
I
write
think
about
that yes, if you have people on the front line that really don't like people, and I feel like so many of us, these are experiences now when you go to a hotel or a restaurant, like getting that white glove customer experience is more rare. So when you get it's just wonderful. You're like, wow, this is amazing because it has become, I think, increasingly rare.
Yeah. All right. Give us another one.
I would say for you asked what is the biggest hiccup for customer service and experience. In my opinion, it is also measuring success. And we all have success metrics, so we know we did a good job at work that day. But a lot of the success metrics, if they're there and they are the customer metrics, they're often just they're not driving the customer focused outcomes like net promoter score. I've had clients that their employees have gamed the system. Their employees have wined and dined customers just to get the score. And so the score doesn't even make sense anymore because all employees care about is getting that good review. And so I think stepping back and saying, what are we measuring? Also, at times, let's do things that you can't always measure or scale, like the CEO of Progressive Insurance, Tricia Griffith, who says you should do things you can't measure and you can't scale. And she quadrupled Progressive stock doing this. So I know that many listening would go, what? What are you talking about? You can't measure, you can't scale. If the company has become so obsessed with hitting the scores and the metrics, and they aren't even driving a customer centric outcome, let's stop and level set on the metrics. Do they still make sense? Maybe we just stop obsessing over the scale. Maybe we stop stepping on the scale for a few minutes and just step back and think, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
So I would say that measurement can be a real hindering block to
Measurement
customer success.
is sometimes ego. Oh, I love our numbers, but here's the big question. Does the customer come back?
Yes,
And
exactly.
it doesn't matter what the number is if they're not coming back. So we
Yes.
are out of time, and I always wrap up with the final nugget. You've given us four ideas from the book. So, and just in a real short, 30, 40 seconds, can you give us one final little piece of advice that you have from your book?
I think the most important thing you can do as an individual is to get yourself into the customer experience mindset. So there are no excuses, something my father taught me when I was a little kid. No excuses. You have to do what you need to do to get yourself to a place where your heart and mind can give to others, can be a leader in this community, in your business, in your family. And that means that you might need to put the mask on yourself before you put the mask on others. But do what you have to do to get yourself, whether that, I know, Shep, you love music and playing music. For others, for me, it's meditation, exercise, swimming in a cold pool. For others, it's going to church or temple. Whatever you need to do to get yourself to higher ground so you feel clear and you can be a leader to help uplift your teams. I think that is the most important piece of advice I could give anybody.
Wow. Well, that's great. It's the mindset. Love it. Blake, I am so excited for your book. Again, The 8 Laws of Customer Focused Leadership by Blake Morgan. And I thank you again for being a three-peat offender on the show. This is your third time, and we love having you. And I can't wait for the next time. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Shep. It's always a pleasure to see you.
You too. All right, everybody, that wraps it up. Another episode of Amazing Business Radio. We will be back next week with another interview, and I can't wait, and I hope you're there too. Thanks for listening. This is Shep Hyken reminding you to always be amazing.